as you get better, that excitement starts to go away. And the reason it starts to go away is, for one, it's much less random now. You start caring less about the wins and losses and more about just taking the trade that you do. But when you're a beginner, you don't do that. And so as you're moving from beginner to being successful, that same excitement starts to wane. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually very, very good. Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading, and in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets, but we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Anarchy Trading Podcast. Do you ever get bored while day trading? Jordan and I were just talking about this and how we kind of have lost some of the same excitement for day trading that we used to have. And we think this is a phase that every day trader will have to move into. So we want to talk about it and discuss why we believe your boredom might be the best indicator of your progress. Jordan, what's up?
I am an old man, Levi. I tell you, man, I have injured myself yet again. I just recovered, and I was playing basketball, and I was planted, and I had a guy hit the side of my knee, and I don't think I tore anything, but my word, like I've been crippled. I've been barely able to walk for the past like week and a half. And so it's like, oh my word, like I had been kiteboarding, sliced my foot open, had 2 weeks off from that. And then literally the day after my foot healed and I could be back running and doing stuff, injured my knee. And I got to say, I'm feeling like I'm 100 years old.
Jordan, you gotta I don't know, you're gonna have to do Pilates or yoga, get yourself all limbered up.
I
You're gonna have to be
warmed
that guy
up.
now.
I was even proud of myself. I warmed up before the basketball game. I was playing, and it just, anyways,
By
the
warming
odds
up,
were not in my
you can't
favor.
touch your knees, can you? Like with straight legs? Probably not.
I
You're
can
probably
touch
tight as
the
a
floor.
bowstring.
I can touch the floor with flat hands, my friend.
Okay, that's way better than me then. Okay. Well, there goes that theory. Well, hopefully you heal up soon. Tell everybody the discussion that we had the other day and what you told me about how you've been feeling about your day trading.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're currently going through. I've had a lot of passion for trading, and I still have passion, but it's something that we were talking about, right? Because I was talking about this with my wife, and then you and I were talking about it last week as well. The fact that, trading is not exciting anymore. Like it doesn't excite me, right? Like I log into the computer, I trade, and then I'm done. I'm also in the middle of doing a bunch of other things right now, so it's like it's not really keeping most of my attention either because I've got a bunch of other things that are going on. And so, yeah, it was something that I wanted to discuss because let's be honest. I think it is a phase everyone goes through, but it was kind of actually a weird thing for me because up until this point, I've always been really excited to trade and watch the charts and all this. And now at this point, I was like telling you, like recently, I'm watching the charts and it's just like, But you then pointed out to the fact and reminded me that's like, listen, that's kind of where you're supposed to be, right? I thought it was a great reminder, and maybe you can tell tell the folks what you told me because I thought it was a great reminder, and I think there's going to be some people that are in the place that I'm currently finding myself.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's probably the best. It's one of the best indicators of progress is not like you said, and I like your making the difference between excitement and passion for something because you can be passionate about something without having the same excitement. But when you're a beginner and you're day trading, there's this excitement that goes along with it because you are essentially gambling because you don't know how to make money, you have no ability to make money, and you don't know when to not take trades, and so every moment is a potential trade, right? And anybody who's ever day traded and ever sat in front of a chart, especially beginners, will know this feeling. You're sitting in front of the chart and you're watching it, and every moment is a potential take. Oh, should I buy? Should I sell? And this is where over trading comes from. but that's very exciting, right? And then as you get better, that excitement starts to go away. And the reason it starts to go away is, for one, it's much less random now. You start to go, okay, um, I know I'm going to take a trade maybe coming up, but this isn't looking quite right. Or hey, this is looking like my setup. I'm going to take it, and whether I win or lose, this looks right to me, right? You start caring much less about um, you start caring much less about the wins and losses and more about just taking the trade that you do and letting the chips fall where they may. Because a winning trader knows that you just take the trades that look correct and are correct and follow your strategy, and then what happens happens. Um, but when you're a beginner, you don't do that. And so as you're moving from beginner to being successful, that same excitement starts to wane, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually very, very good, and something that a beginner trader should be looking forward to and being prepared for, is being prepared to day trade without that um you know casino mentality, right? You're sitting down at a at a blackjack table mentality, being able to just do it as a kind of as a job, as a passion that you like, but just as a job, not out of that kind of rabid excitement.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a great point because you're right. Like it used to be when you start trading, you're constantly, you constantly don't know when you're going to take a trade. And so it's constantly waiting for that next setup, right? But at this point in time, I gotta say, like, and this is what I'd mentioned to you, when I look at the chart, and I think you told me this, like when you look at the chart now, it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to be taking a trade for at least the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it may be, because you just go into like, yeah, price is nowhere near anywhere where I feel like I can be taking a trade right now. Even trading on the 1 minute, there's times where you're going to go 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour sometimes, depending, waiting for a setup, and you're just like, okay, there's nothing to do, and it's boring, right? Because it's like, well, there's no point watching it because you already know that it's like, I'm not taking a trade right now because it's not fitting your criteria. And I do think that's where part of the boredom, kind of part of the boredom, I use that word loosely, but maybe boredom's not the right word, monotony, comes in, because you've already seen it before, and you're like, I'm not taking a trade. So I think that's probably where it's good to be able to figure out, okay, what are you going to do then, instead? Because probably sitting there and just staring at a chart that you're not going to trade isn't a good idea. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I like your point about, the waiting, because that's the kind of one of the main things that gives you kind of the monotony. Because when you're beginning, you're always looking for a trade, and when you are kind of getting past those stages into the intermediate or advanced stages, you know what you're looking for, and so it's like, oh, I'm not going to be taking a trade for 10 minutes. You can look away from the chart. You're not even looking at it, because what's the point? You're not. It's not a setup you're going to take. There's no setups coming. Just by looking at the chart, that's not in the right spot. And so I think an important thing is to keep having something. And I don't. We've always said, hey, spend 2 hours a day watching the chart. There is a point at which you move to a stage where watching the chart might do more harm than good. If you're not going to be taking a trade, this isn't your look. And so keeping something, I kind of keep some other tabs open, not to try to spread my mind too thin, but just to give myself, hey, I know for the next 5 minutes I'm not going to be taking a trade. So, what's something else that I can just, have that, white noise for my brain to allow me to kind of move past these 5 minutes? That's been something that kind of helps me kind of uh, stay watching the chart, stay focused and invested for 2 hours without having to sit and watch a chart, even though I know a move isn't coming for the next, 10 minutes. That helps me avoid kind of the monotony that tempts you to then just leave, or just tempts you to stop watching the chart for 2 hours. keeping kind of some white noise task, low brain energy task in the background, not to distract you too much. There is obviously too much distraction you can have, but having that to just help me kind of stay in the zone has helped me in a major way. I don't know whether you kind of experience that and whether you do that too, or whether you're kind of fully invested. Maybe this isn't a good idea. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a good question because honestly, normally I've been training a bit different because, as I said, I'm also now currently working on trying to start up a drug and alcohol rehab facility, and so I'm really busy. So I take a couple trades throughout the day, but I am not fully focused on the charts like I used to be because I'm also currently running a business, and so. I gotta say, I don't know if I agree with that because it's like I've noticed like there's a huge difference for me trading now compared to when I was trading when I was able to just dedicate a full, 2 hours and sitting in front of the charts. Like my trading now is, has suffered
Right.
significantly compared to when I was able to just sit in the charts because you're right. I like my brain is I'm trying to do a million other things and then place a couple trades. Like it was funny that I actually had a guy call me the other day. He wanted to come. He unfortunately, had an addiction problem, and he called me up wanting to come. And he mentioned if he could use his phone for a couple hours a day because he was a trader. And and I just laughed. I was like, buddy, if you're coming to rehab, I'm like, you are not going to be in the right frame of mind to be trading while you're here. And I'm like, let's be honest. I'm like, you're not actually good. So it was kind of funny because I don't think traders are usually used to being called out. But I was like, dude, you're not honestly going to make that much money. You're going to lose money half the days you're here anyway. The
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and then with your mind frame, you're being at rehab, you're going through withdrawals. It's probably not going to be a very good time for you to be trading. So you better hang on. Shameless plug to my personal podcast, and then had a little chat. But yeah, I mean, so it kind of goes the same though. Trading when distracted, like we've talked about it. So
We
I don't
have.
know so like when you talk about like empty brain, like maybe like yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I've seen my trading suffer because of it. So I don't know. Maybe it works for some people, and I get it though, because I have to say that's why I find it boring. Like because it's like, oh, I'm not going to take a trade. But then if I start distracting myself, I feel like that's really starts then also, essentially draining brain juice that I should be using when it does come to take the trade, if that makes sense. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because like I've noticed I won't take as many stupid trades when I do that, but I will miss opportunities, right? Because like you get
Right.
distracted and it's like, you miss good opportunities. I miss some just today, I missed some good opportunities that I journaled because
Yeah.
I had like it's not just I don't just journal the trades that I win or lose. I also journal trades that I either was about to take and I decided against, or trades that
Yeah.
I should have taken and I didn't. So yeah, maybe that's something I need to actually dig into, and because we've
Yeah.
talked about distraction before, and typically distraction is not a good idea. It's just kind of like the whole knowing where and when you're going to take trades is something that comes with experience, and that's something you're going to eventually hit. You're going to hit time a time where you're going to essentially know, hey, I'm not going to take a trade here. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a line there, and I think that's really easy to get from, hey, just trading during times when you know there's going to be setups versus being distracted, and that's definitely something you don't want to fall into, and something that probably I'm prone to. So we've talked briefly about that. Like you talked about the difference between passion and excitement. Okay, so as the excitement kind of wanes as your trading becomes less random, right? Your excitement's going to wane a little bit. Um, as the excitement dies down, what's a way to keep the passion for trading while that non-random excitement sort of dies out?
Yeah, I think the passion comes from what you're doing with it. Like, because again, like a job is, if you know how to do your job well, it's always going to be boring for them. So like, what are you doing to keep it interesting? And I think that's where either changing things up a little bit, right? Like that's where if it's okay. So if it's not exciting anymore. Tell you what, if you want to make things a little bit different, make things different. Go ahead, like trade a different pair for some reason, trade a different time occasionally. Now, I know this maybe goes against what I'm saying, but like, again, like this is okay. Experiment a little bit. Like it's okay. Like
Right.
once it starts getting boring, once it's boring, this means, okay, you've kind of mastered what you're doing. And this is where now it's showing you, okay, start experimenting a little bit. Maybe you start playing with some different, some different, looking at different strategies that you could do, trying to teach someone else, right? Because now it's boring. Guess what? When it's boring for you, now it's the point where you can start teaching someone else for it. So you start kind of passing on that passion to other people. And so for me, where I get my kind of passion interest is like this podcast, right? Coaching people. Like I love coaching people. Honestly, way more than I probably should. It's just really fun to coach people and kind of pass my trading knowledge on. I really like that. And
Mm.
so to me, finding a passion is more finding something bigger outside of trading or as part of trading, but not just about, okay, not just about making money. It's not about the thrill. It's about, okay, passing on knowledge to other people, which, as I said, if you actually meet people in the trading community, real traders are usually happy to just show you how to trade, right? They're not looking to make $1 million off of you selling their amazing course, because real traders, like they're bored at work. They're just doing their work and they want to pass it on to you. So if you want to, you can definitely there's plenty of mentors out there who would, love to help people learn how to trade kind of like us. And so that's definitely kind of a couple of the ways that I try to do that.